hello, and welcome to episode number 419 of the Plain Talking UK podcast. I am Carlos, and in this week's absolutely packed show, one airline carries its own ground handlers on board, one passenger takes a carry-on so as not to lose her luggage and loses her luggage, and we take a look at Farnborough International Airshow 2022. In the military, Slovakia's entire fleet of MiG-29s is gifted to Ukraine, and Bell unveils its nearly complete mock-up of the new 360 Invictus next-generation helicopter. So joining me this week, he's back in the studio, and trust me, I am so happy about this. It is, of course, the person who knows exactly what he's doing, Matt Smith.
Thank you, I think. Did you have a bit of a rough time of it last week then, mate?
Only the last 10 minutes of last week's show.
Right, okay.
Honestly, it was like...
It was a bit earlier than that, mate. I had to do the edit, remember?
Oh, it was like Gremlins Part 4.
Right, okay. Very good.
Honestly.
Well, I'm sorry for your loss.
I was honestly, it was probably the quickest wrap up and the quickest goodbye we've ever done in the history of PTUK.
Oh, I mean, feel free to repeat that later.
No. How's the warm studio? Cool studio.
It's not too bad actually. It's cooled down a bit, hasn't it? It's not quite as warm as expected. It's supposed to be really bad, sort of towards the later part of the week. From what I understand, it's going to be pretty hot again, sort of Monday, Tuesday. But yeah, no, it's not too bad at the moment. It's only 25 degrees in here currently.
And Dirk's just noticed I've got no cap on. Yes, I know, Dirk.
What?
I literally
hang on.
It's a bit warm in here, so I thought I'd go capless today.
Does that mean we've got to start again?
It's just to prove that I actually do have hair.
Right. Okay.
And also joining us this week through the realms of the interweb from his glorious studio over in sunny Buckinghamshire is, of course, the king of BA, Neville Barnes.
And a lot of BA to talk about this week as well.
Has something happened, Nev?
Gosh, lots of stuff's been going on all over the shop. In fact, just as we were about to come on air, BA cancelled my flight back from Düsseldorf to Heathrow on Tuesday, so I've had to make alternative arrangements. But you know, I can't complain too much because it's one of the first cancellations I've had for a while. So. But there we go. But no, lots of flying last week around. Where was I last week?
You were
Brussels.
everywhere.
That's where it was last week, yes. And delays and general faffing about. But that's the norm for the moment.
Did you have your baggage, though, Nev?
Absolutely. I'm not checking in
Excellent.
a bag ever again unless I really need to. But if I do, I've got the Apple Air tags to go with it.
Brilliant. Excellent. Well, it's good to have you back on us again this week, Nev. As always, and we're missing a member of the team this week, but in obvious Armando style, as he does every time, and I'm sure he's going to have some glorious background behind him. He has sent us a little video as an apology to say hello to everyone on the show this week. So, Armando, over to you.
Hey everybody, here I am at Flight Safety International. As some of you guys have picked up on the last couple weeks, I'm here for a couple weeks. I won't be on the show, unfortunately, but I'm getting a PIC type rating in the Hawker 800. Actually, it's the Hawker 850 XP, but they're all kind of the same. As you have heard from Pip, from Al, all of our professional pilots in the community, every time that you go to a new airplane, there is a lot of training to be done. As you can see here, it's just a couple thousand pages of light reading. This alone, the checklist alone, can be used as a weapon in most American states. And it is pretty fire hose of information, but organizations like Flight Safety and SimCom and CAE, which are the big training providers around the U.S., all have a method to their madness. They have a very tried and proven method to take anybody, regardless of their previous experience, and get them to the same baseline level of knowledge at each airplane in order to operate in a safe manner for their particular type of operation. For me, I'm doing this as a Part 91 owner operator, so I don't have to worry about Part 135 check rides or anything having to do with charters. For this particular airplane, I still have to do that for the Pilatus. But I will keep everyone informed and try to do some excess baggage segments for our Patreon supporters or show supporters, and maybe give you a little bit of the behind the scenes. Unfortunately, organizations like this have a lot of proprietary information, so I won't be able to film anything inside the simulators or even inside the classrooms, but that's kind of standard for the industry, as it's incredibly competitive right now with all of the pilot training going on. But either way, my apologies that I can't be on the show. I'll keep you guys in the loop of how this is going over the next couple weeks, and stand by for some military stories at the end of the show.
Thank you, Armando. Tony S. has asked a fabulous question, which is, blimey, how many type ratings does Armando now have? I mean, that is a good question, one we're definitely going to have to ask him next time he joins us live. Because
I just laugh at the books that Armando had in his hand there, and I honestly do think to myself, the guy doesn't need books. I mean, you could throw Armando into any aircraft and he'd fly. I mean, the guy's a pilot.
I mean, the only thing I would say, sort of not against that, but I think he's the first one to admit that every single aircraft has its own little idiosyncrasies. Now, don't get me wrong. If he was on an aircraft that he'd never flown before, and somebody said one of the pilots is not well, then I would absolutely be saying, Armando, it's your turn, go play. But it's we'll have to ask him. But as I say, I seem to recall it's a pretty full on. Now, speaking of the chat room, I'm being told in my ears, John's back, by the way, everyone, in case you missed him.
Yes, he's back, yes. Let's say hello to everyone in the chat room this evening who's joined us for the show this evening. Let's have a quick run down the list. We have got in the family members team today, Richard Adams, hello to you. We've got Hobby Time, hello. Dirk S. Mazouz Karim, we'll be seeing you very soon, Mazouz. We have got Main Man Micah, wielding the blue spanner of doom, ready for all those glorious bots who'll come and visit us later, no doubt. We've also got the Airstig. Hello to you, the Airstig. Masha, hello to you, Masha. Hope you're well. Hope the sun is shining where you are like it is here in the UK. We have got Tony S. I'm scrolling down. Make sure Captain Ridiculous Wits. Wouldn't be a show without Captain Ridiculous Wits in the chat room, hey. And we're going to say a big thanks to everyone who has joined us this evening. Don't forget, if you're listening to our glorious voices through the audio podcast, wherever you may download it, don't forget, if you fancy seeing what me, Matt, Nev, and Armando look like, just check out the YouTube feed. Search us on there, Plain Talking UK on YouTube,
or don't,
and you'll find the YouTube links on there, and you'll find our page and the link to the live show, where you'll be able to join in the conversation with our glorious chat room every week. And John Clart has now joined us in the chat room. He's also wielding his blue spanner.
Never heard of him. That's the
yes.
He's saying the blue spanner of death is for the hosts if we don't behave. That's fair. Yeah.
So we have got so much stuff to get through today, and it's safe to say that we've got a competition launch, seething stuff to play on the show. So much stuff. Honestly, there's tons of stuff to get through. So if everyone's ready to do some commercial news,
yes.
Yeah,
let's
sure.
go.
Okay, yeah.
The captain has turned on the seatbelt light. Please take your seats and fasten your seatbelts.
Well, just as I was mentioning before, there's a bit of trouble at Heathrow, and it says, the headline says from the FT.com, BBC.com, and also Emirates.com. Heathrow tells airlines to stop selling summer flights. Naughty. Of course, after we talked about the passenger limit that Heathrow is imposing to help ease the summer chaos, Tuesday this week, Heathrow requested airlines to stop selling summer flights. and to cancel certain flights inbound to the London hub. Now, Emirates, who currently fly 6 flights a day to and from Dubai, issued a statement regarding this decision. They say it's therefore highly regrettable that London Heathrow last evening gave us 36 hours to comply with capacity cuts of a figure that appears to be plucked from thin air. Their communications not only dictated the specific flights on which we could throw out paying passengers, but also threatening legal action for non-compliance. This is entirely unreasonable and unacceptable, and we reject these demands. At London Heathrow Airport, our ground handling and catering, run by Donata, part of the Emirates Group, interesting, are fully ready and capable of handling our flights. And it says, until further notice, Emirates plans to operate as scheduled to and from Heathrow. Oh, there's going to be some trouble here, isn't there? Especially if you can imagine people going from Heathrow to, I don't know, the Far East, Australia, something like that, where Dubai is a big connecting hub as well. I think this has not been thought through properly. Just to state the obvious, there's the problem that they have given themselves could have been avoided. Even though it would take people longer to get back to operating out of Heathrow in terms of the ground handling staff and the people that they'd laid off, they probably did know that this summer might have been a bit of a busy period, and there are questions to be asked, I'm afraid.
I think it's quite interesting actually that, as you say, it. So in Emirates' case, for example, they're actually saying that our ground handling crew are ready and able to deal with what's coming. I mean that's what's been the problem, isn't it? It is, well, and I mean not just baggage and ground handling in general, but I mean that's been a major factor as to why flights and stuff have been delayed.
Yeah, it's the infrastructure basically, and the people available to operate it. And there was a story this week also about Icelandair actually sending their own teams to Schiphol Airport in Amsterdam to handle their own flights in terms of baggage and what have you. So there's lots of stuff going on here, and I think it's quite significant that Donata is part of the Emirates Group, and I think people need to just have a think about that just for a minute before they start making demands. And they should remember that although there are direct flights, obviously, but often those flights are used as connecting flights, and Emirates are a customer of Heathrow. And I wonder how much it costs to land an A380 at Heathrow in terms of landing fees. It's quite a lot, I would imagine.
A significant amount of money, I think. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is there a bit of a sort of, were you sort of mentioning there, Nev, about sort of issues with sort of like Heathrow and stuff? I mean, presumably they aren't going to be the only airline that are having these problems. Are they the only people perhaps with their own sort of ground handling teams ready to rock? No, I mean,
there's Donata's a very large organisation, worldwide that deals with ground handling stuff, and you'll see their trucks and vans going in and out of the taxiways and on and off the stands all the time at airports. I mean, British Airways have been told it as well. This is why my flight from Dusseldorf back to Heathrow has just been cancelled, so I'm going to go back to City Airport instead. But yeah, there's it's all a bit short notice as well. That's the problem, and that wasn't happening before, because certainly with British Airways they were giving about a month's notice.
Right.
This is a different situation now, where the airport themselves are saying to airlines, stop selling tickets for this period because we will not be able to handle the inbound or the outbound aircraft.
So, I mean, this is a question, and this may not be one that you can answer, Nev, and perhaps John might be able to look this up for me. But, I mean, how many people are actually required to get an aircraft, like, boarded and away? And obviously, and I'm not including cabin crew, because obviously they're on board and throughout, and you've got your 2 pilots, sometimes 3, depending on what's going on there. But,
you mean the 380?
Or
anything?
Whatever. I mean, anything. Let's be realistic. Let's say the 777, for example, which is, and I'm using Emirates as an example here. I mean, how many people on the ground are physically needed to make that aircraft go? Well, I mean, you've probably got 2 or 3.
It's a lot. You've got people to do the fueling of the aircraft, the dispatchers, the ground handlers, the baggage handlers, the
Catering.
planners, the catering, for both sectors, of course, perhaps the inbound and the outbound sector as well. And then you've got all the operations team at Heathrow and in Dubai as well, actually tracking the progress of this aircraft and making sure it's serviceable. So you've got maintenance people as well. It's a lot, to get an aircraft into the air. It's a lot.
So John has actually just looked it up for us. He's saying, so for an A380 as an example, you're looking at just over 100 people essentially to get for both sides. So so it's 100 people both sides, as in 100 people in Heathrow and 100 people in Dubai required to make that flight work, basically. I mean, that's a bit. Obviously, they would normally be shared, obviously, between those. So those 100 people would also then deal with an X flight and so on and so forth. But I mean, that's a lot of people when you think. I mean, what is there? Sort of 400 and something or other on an A380.
Yeah, about 450, depending on the configuration, and
up to
who's
600
flying it.
potentially.
It's
It's an expensive business, this flying lark, isn't it?
Oh yes, and of course you've then got let alone the current fuel costs and all the rest of it. So you've got a whole load of additional costs that probably weren't factored in 12 months ago. So it's going to go on for a while, I'm afraid.
So you mentioned obviously your flight's now been cancelled, Nev, and you're sort of trying to get something lined up to.
Well, I've just 5 minutes before the show started, they gave me the option of rebooking back into London City Airport from Dusseldorf, but then I've got to get the train back from City Airport all the way to Terminal 5 at Heathrow, where my car will be. I'm actually considering perhaps just changing the first sector, so I might actually start from London City Airport instead, which just means an even earlier start on Monday morning.
Right. Okay. I mean,
or possibly Sunday night, depending on.
Well, yes, possibly Sunday night. But I mean, I suppose that means at least the car's in the right place when you get back. Which is
there is that, yeah. But I might, of course, trying to get the train back, of course, on Tuesday when it will be 40 degrees centigrade, apparently.
When's the strike?
And there's the strike as well, isn't there? That's
Dirk's got some info for you in the chat room, Nev.
Oh, right. Okay. Hello. Well, let's have a look. Serious queues at Dusseldorf, he says. Well, don't they know that I'm coming through? Seriously.
Good point. Good point. And you were in seat 1A at one point, weren't you? Are you still in seat 1A?
Is there any other seat?
Well, no, of course. I expect nothing less. But there we go. Well, as I say, I've got this really bad feeling that we're not done with this, and
we'll give us more content for next week. What's happened to Nev this week?
Okay, right, yeah. I mean,
it's a whole spin-off of the show.
I'm pleased you're doing all this flying, Nev, but
well, I'm doing it just for the show, not
very
for
good, very good.
And moving on to the next story, that'll be the Plane Talking Nev podcast. Anyway, this is coming to us from the Points Guy and Simple Flying, Flight Global and Airways Mag as well. And introducing Virgin Atlantic's Airbus A330neo. Now, having flown on a transatlantic flight on a Virgin Atlantic A330, and it was the most uncomfortablest and noisiest flight I've ever been on in my entire life. Virgin Atlantic unveiled their latest interiors for their soon-to-be delivered A330-900 aircraft. The arrival of the 330neos will take an average age of Virgin's fleet to just 7 years old, as well as reducing the fleet carbon emissions by 11%. The Trent 7000 powered jets were ordered at the Paris 2019 Airshow, and the company is suggesting that it will receive up to 16 of the type, with deliveries commencing from September this year. Revenue operations will start from October, and the aircraft will initially be used on the London to Boston route. So if any of our US listeners are listening and fancy a trip over to the UK, you can fly on this glorious new suite, which I will say does look very comfortable, but that is obviously not economy class. So let's hope they sort the economy seating out as well. So the Retreat Suite 2 has a 6'7" fully lie flat bed. It also has an ottoman that doubles as a second seat. This was the previous picture what Matt's got on there, meaning up to 4 people can dine together, which is quite nice. You can benefit from a 27-inch screen. That's not too shabby either. Wireless charging, Bluetooth connectivity for personal headsets, and PED controls features with privacy doors. Now, in the upper class, you have forward-facing seats, privacy doors, a 17.3-inch screen, which is quite not too bad either, really. Passenger-controlled mood lighting, which is quite an interesting idea. Wireless charging again with Bluetooth connectivity for personal headsets and PED control features. So 3 types of economy. The only differences being pitch in premium, and there's wireless charging there as well. So premium economy, 38-inch pitch in premium economy with a 13.3-inch screen, wireless charging again. Ooh, with Bluetooth connectivity for headsets and PED control features. Economy Delight, they're calling, 34-inch pitch with a 13.3-inch screen again. No wireless charging this time, but you've got AC and USB charging port with Bluetooth connectivity for personal headsets and PED control features. And Economy Delight, you've got 31 inches of pitch, a 13.3 screen, and AC and USB charging with Bluetooth connectivity again. Oh, always with Bluetooth. Got a lot of Bluetooth for headsets and PED controllers. And the loft for upper class and retreat suite passengers will have a social area with room for up to 8 passengers. There'll also be a self-service fridge. Oh, blimey. And 4 bar stool height seats to sit down as well. I must say, one thing I will say about Virgin is that I love the colour of their lighted interiors. That kind of purple violet or sort of violet colour is very nice indeed. But I love the idea of the bar area. What do you think, Nev, for a glass of Pinot while you're on the flight?
Yeah, I like the sound of that very much. In fact, the whole thing looks rather tasty, doesn't it? They've done a nice job of this. And I'm looking forward to trying that out one of these days.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how much quieter this is as well, because the original 330s were blooming loud.
Yeah, they were, yes.
Really loud. So, be good to see this and try it out. Perhaps might try that when we fly across and see what the prices are like with Virgin nearer the time when we go over to the States next year. See what they're charging. So, do we prefer this upper class to the fishbone? So it's like the seats are like that, Matt, kind of like a fishbone. Oh, sorry. It's like a triangle shape. Imagine a triangle shape, like a fishbone kind of shape seats. Everything's at an angle, yeah, on the fuselage, yeah. It's definitely a new approach. It looks good. It'll just be interesting to see even the basic economy, just to see what that is like. But I think nowadays the difference in price sometimes between premium economy and a standard economy seat, for the sake of £100 or £150, it's sometimes nicer to have that little bit extra luxury. Yeah. So Matt, you've got the next story, and this is awesome. And this is about an airline that's having to carry its own baggage handlers.
Yes, indeed. So it's a fairly short story. This main, as I say, we've sort of covered it in detail, really, in our first story. Sorry, it's to do with Icelandair, and they're carrying their own baggage handlers on Amsterdam flights. So with airports around Europe in chaos over staff shortages and strikes, the airlines are desperate to avoid delays and disruption. According to Iceland's national news agency Ríkisútvarpið, or RUV as I will refer for it, RUV, which I'll do. John's just saying I can just say RUV. Maybe I should have done that. Anyway, Icelandair have been sending 2 baggage handlers as part of the flight crew on all Amsterdam-bound services since last weekend. Icelandair's information officer told RUV the idea worked well and that it's continuing all this week, after which time the situation will be reassessed. Now, we covered this in sort of quite reasonable detail in the previous story. I mean, it's certainly an innovative way of solving the problem. I mean, do we sort of expect other carriers to perhaps sort of consider doing the same, Nev?
Well, it's obviously a bit desperate, isn't it? I just wonder what the unions would have to say about this as a starting point. No, needs must, clearly. So they're drafting in their own staff to do it. I don't know how that works in terms of airside passes and authorization and goodness knows what else. So, there's some measures being put in here for exceptional circumstances, clearly. Yeah. So I think that they'll do whatever they need to do to try and solve this problem, because certainly Amsterdam a few weeks ago was an absolute disaster, I must say. So
I mean, is it cost effective doing it this way? I mean,
you're losing out on paying passengers, aren't you?
Well, yeah. I mean, and you're looking at 2 crew for every single flight, essentially. I mean, do they have enough ground crew for a start to be able to put something like that? I mean, they've obviously thought it through in terms of that. But
I think the suggestion of any kind of value for money or economy has probably gone out the window some time ago. They're just having to deal with this in order to try and get the backlog dealt with, and also to try and keep, unblock the log jam, shall we say. So, yeah.
Captain Cruise is suggesting why not give discount to passengers who are self-offloading their baggage. Captain Ridiculous Wit says, I like that Captain Cruise. I'll get my knees dirty for a discount. That doesn't sound right. Family show. Family show, ladies and gentlemen. Family show. I mean,
it's not a bad idea, actually. Discount if you unload your own.
I mean, we're opening a whole can of worms in terms of security there. I mean, surely. But Captain Cruise can already see Ryanair making you pay to be allowed to unload the baggage yourself. A good point, Dirk. Well made. Yeah. Now, how's about this?
And Matt's just having a little bit of a cough session there.
I'm nearly better. Sorry.
He's nearly better.
Yeah. Anyway, so
of lemon sip in his wine.
Yes, indeed. I'll have a sip of my wine. It'll be fine. Now, how about this for an innovative solution here? So Swissport, who are not known for their we'll gloss over that and move on. Anyway, cargo handler Swissport is testing an unmanned automated guide vehicle, AGV, at its new cargo centre at Frankfurt Airport to reduce manual handling. The low OD, which is Industries AGV, uses lasers to avoid collisions. It measures 10 feet and has a load capacity of 6,800 kilograms. It can transport a variety of unit load devices, including 15-foot containers. Swissport said the AGV reduces the need for manual handling and frees up staff for more complex and value-creating tasks. Short-term testing began in November of 2021, so long before all this started, really. And the project has now moved into daily integration and long-term testing. Now, I'll give you a very brief example of a problem that we had. So the company that many of you may know that I work for a company called Naked Wines now, and we did have absolutely. If you're in the States, no good to you whatsoever. But anyway, we'll gloss over that. So the company that I work for, basically,
they still drink wine.
Do they? Right, yes, okay. We had a bit of a problem. Now, many of you in the UK will remember that there was a certain Euro final, I think, that we made into in terms of the football. And now the unexpected knock-on effect of that particular, I can't remember whether it was the final or whether it was, I think it was the final. The knock-on effect of that is nobody turned up for work the day after the final. And when I say nobody, it's like, so, it's like something like nearly 5,000 cases that leave our warehouse every single day. And on this particular occasion, because nobody turned up for work, there were 5,000 cases that failed essentially to get onto the Yodel lorries to leave our warehouse. And off the back of that, our company decided that they were going to sort of invest very heavily in automation. And I have to say that since they've done that, we had a sort of about 3 or 4 months of what I'd like to call teething issues. But since that automation went in, everything went okay. And I can see this. I don't know how quite you would make it work in an airport, because I mean, let's be honest, an airport is an extremely complicated place. But a complicated place. But what are your thoughts? I mean, I suppose part of you is worrying about the fact that obviously people are going to be losing their jobs and things like that. But at the end of the day, if there is a problem like this where, flights, people aren't able to go on the holidays and the flights and stuff that they want to because of issues like this. I mean, is this the future? I mean, Nev, I'll ask that question to you directly.
Automation in many things has seen some big advantages. And I think it's a question of working out the most efficient way of doing some of this stuff. But that, does have the potential of costing jobs, clearly. But
is it if they can't fill those jobs at the moment in the first place?
That's a very good point. And of course, we are assuming that we're going to get back to some sort of normality at some point. I don't know when that's going to be, by the way. So, it's an interesting concept. But then you think about, the pushback tugs, for example, for aircraft. Certainly at Heathrow T5, and I think it's at Frankfurt for Lufthansa. They've got you still need an operator for it, but perhaps just one person involved rather than two when you've got a proper pushback tug. I don't know. I think we'll have to see, but I think it's got the potential for definitely some improvements. We'll have to wait to see perhaps next year when things do start to get back to normal about how they get on with staffing levels and things like that.
I mean, can you see them like even loading the aircraft? Do you think, or will there still need to be a human involved in that?
You've got to have human intervention there, haven't you, to load these ULDs onto the aircraft in the first place? But it's a certain level of automation would help, but you can't really replace people, I don't think.
I mean, I guess if it was ready now, there probably would be not much resistance in terms of unions and things like that, because as you say, right now they're struggling to actually fill the positions.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we were hearing from one of our chums that works at Heathrow, weren't we, that how long it's taking to get airside passes at the moment. And certainly when I got one back in 2008, I think it was, when I was doing some work at T5, and it took me, I think, about 2 weeks with all the background checks and everything. And now it's taking people 4 to 5 months in some cases. So that's a problem straight away.
Stu Thomas is saying that automation is the future. He's probably right there. There we go. Nev, I think you're in charge next.
Yes, and talking of ongoing issues and things like that, and people are trying to find ways to improve the situations for flying and also for the employees that work as well. Alaska Airlines is celebrating its 90th anniversary by giving its employees 90,000 miles each to travel the globe. Alaska said that the 90,000 miles would not expire and that employees can use it beyond the Alaska network with its One World partner airlines, including Qantas, British Airways and Qatar. So that's quite a lot of mileage if you think about it. I think we'll just give you some ideas of how much mileage it is in terms of how much it would cost you. For example, on British Airways economy, round trips from some of the major airports around about 32,500 miles. Oh, one way. Sorry, beg your pardon. Premium economy is 42,500. Business is 60,000, and first is 70,000. So that's actually quite a lot if you think about it. And the miles can also be used to upgrade existing tickets or on hotel stays as well. So that could be quite useful. Now, of course, if those employees then get into the situation where their flight's cancelled or delayed, or they lose luggage and things like that, then it may not be quite as valuable, possibly. But I think that the other thing to think about here is perhaps some of the tax implications, because apparently gifts of air miles or airline miles valued at over $600 are generally thought to be taxable. But where the company and or the employees stand on this, we're not entirely sure. But just to give you an example, the value to the average customer is about 1.5 to 1.7 US cents to the mile, and that makes 90,000 miles worth up to around about $1,530. So there's lots of things to think about here, but at least it's some. It's a good sign that the airline is willing to do something for its employees. And I think that, I think people are just trying to do anything to have employee retention at the moment. That's the main thing. So an interesting angle and an interesting initiative as well, I think.
I mean, do you think this will bring a bit of loyalty, perhaps, as well to these people? I mean, sort of people are prone to sort of disappearing due to, sort of maybe a better offer from a different airline, for example. I mean, do you think this might bring a bit of loyalty?
It might do, but some people, even through with all the training they've gone through, some of them just leave the business altogether and they go and do something else. So this might have some effect on retaining some of them, I would think. But it's a big carrot, isn't it?
It is. It's definitely a big carrot. I'll give you that.
I think Nev will probably he'll have so many points by the end of this year that BA will have to give him his own airline.
Well, wouldn't that be nice? I don't think I'm really qualified to do any of that.
Anyway, next story is coming to us from aerotime.aero and airliners.com. And this week I was very lucky indeed to have part of the job that I do. My day job was going to the Farnborough Airshow. This is before the actual airshow begins next week. So I was privy to all the setup and everything that was going on. I've got some pictures actually, which Matt will pop up in a bit. But this story is all about the Farnborough Airshow 2022. And Boeing has announced it will demonstrate its 737 MAX 10 and 777X aircraft in a flying display at Farnborough Airshow 2022 this year in the UK. The airshow, which will take place between the 18th of July and the 22nd of July, will mark the 737 MAX 10's international debut. The largest variant of the 737 MAX family, the MAX 10 will demonstrate aerial maneuvers. The 777X will join the 737 MAX 10 in the daily flying and static display. And the Farnborough Airshow will be the fourth international venue to feature the 777X. Both the 777X and the 737 MAX 10 aircraft will have flown to the show on a blend of sustainable aviation fuel. Practice for the flying displays has been taking place today. My word, that was loud. Whew. The Airbus have already landed their A350-900 innovation demonstrator in Farnborough. However, it's since flown back to Toulouse. Embraer have also brought their E190-E2 and E195-E2 in the Tech Shark and Tech Lion liveries. I saw those. They were very good. They both departed Brazil and landed in Farnborough via Cape Verde. Now, I have to say, we're not, obviously, us guys, we're not at Farnborough this year, but it was very interesting indeed to see what goes in behind the scenes to set up for the Farnborough trade show and the air show itself. Like I said, I was lucky to get up close and personal with the 737 MAX 10 as well. It's nice to see that up close. And it was also nice to see a lot of the trade stands being built. And I'll have to tell you guys and girls, if you've not been to the Farnborough Air Show before, literally nearly all the trade stands, the display stands and stuff, they are literally built from scratch. Literally built from scratch. But what goes into building a stand? Oh, building. Sorry, John is. So I was there myself. I was taking a display stand there to drop off for one of our clients that we do exhibition stands for, a large telecommunications company here in the UK. So I was dropping off a stand there, and it is a regimental scene. It has to be said. There's a one-way system in operation on site. The security is off the charts. I was checked twice entering. All the drivers were checked twice going into the site, and you are literally allowed airside, so you do have to actually drive on the taxiways and stuff to go through to the exhibition halls and stuff, which is quite novel, I will say, to drive along the taxiways in a truck, especially when I'm being myself, trying to concentrate on the road and what's to my left, such as the 777X or the 737 MAX 10. It is blinking hard to concentrate on what you're supposed to be doing. And John was just saying, I hope the boss is not listening. Well, my boss was obviously quite excited the fact that this job was for me to do. He did say that he didn't think that I would turn down the opportunity to go to Farnborough to do this job.
I mean, you know how to get there. You've been there before.
Well, funnily enough, the exhibition stand that I took down is going in place literally round the corner from the media centre where we were a few years back, which is quite nice to see that there as well. But it is a massive setup. Everything, a lot of the stuff is literally built by wood, hand built with wood, nails, screws, painted on site. Some of the stands are absolutely amazing. And I was literally privy to seeing all the pallet loads of beer and wine and sparkling water that were being taken around to the various like the actual hospitality stands, such as Boeing and Airbus, who've got quite a big stand there this year again as well. But it was lovely to see that. Very interesting indeed to be back there again at Farnborough. The lineup for this year, I will say, I have seen the lineup for this year's show. It's okay. I wouldn't say it's the best lineup I've seen in previous years, but unfortunately, as like some years, quite a few of the aircraft that people will probably want to see, they won't be there on the public day, which is next Friday. But perhaps we might go again in another couple of years, guys, when it's back on again, and see what's going on there. Anyway, talking about the MAX 10, it was lovely to see that now, because I haven't seen that before in the flesh. It was lovely to see that, and I have to say it's definitely a big 737. You know, we're talking, this is getting obviously towards a similar size to the 75. I have to say, but I don't know whether you could see the pictures that I took, just how low those engine nacelles are to the ground when that's sitting on the ground. If you look at where the bottom of the engine nacelle is to the tarmac below, there is not a lot of space there between the engine and the ground, I will say, on the 737. But
I mean, to be fair, it's probably a lot. There's probably bigger room than you think if you're right up close and personal to it.
Yeah, actually, I'll tell you what as well, Matt. It was good to see the 777X with those folding wingtips. It was good to see those there. Although I was a bit worried when I saw there was a couple of guys on a scissor lift that seemed to be spending a lot of time working on the flaps, on the flap area of that 777.
Oh.
Just saying. What do you think, Nev, of the old the MAX 10 7.3?
Oh yeah, it's impressive. That's for sure. But more thinking about the Farnborough Airshow itself and what it used to be. I mean, clearly it's a trade show.
Oh yes,
primarily now. Whereas
it was always
previously
a trade show,
it always was a trade show. But I think there was more emphasis with the public days, and certainly when we last went, all the good hardware had flown out before the public days had started. Really, so that was a big shame, I think. But
I remember we got really lucky, didn't we? Because We got there. Was it? I'm trying to think. Was it the 200? No, what was it? The little Airbus thing that.
Oh, the A220.
Yeah, the A220, and because
Yeah.
that was there on the Friday, and you guys have been quite lucky. You got there early, didn't you? You'd gone the day before
Yes,
me, and
and-
actually managed to get a tour around this incredible aircraft that has been so popular with a lot of airlines and stuff. And I mean, of course, after you guys have been on it, of course, like every week there was like new stories of people taking that as their new aircraft and things like that. And you guys, only because you managed to get there on the Friday, was it the Friday or the Thursday? I think it was the Thursday, wasn't it? You managed to get in and gone round Thursday afternoon or whatever, and then it literally flew out that night, and it was gone by the time the rest of us got here.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
So, Matt, you've got the next story, and Airbus have they've hit a milestone figure.
So they have. It's the headline is Airbus Helicopters deliver 7,000th Icarus and Ecrul. Sorry, just been told off. So this is AIN online and also Airbus as well. Airbus Helicopters has delivered its 7,000th aircraft from the Ecrul family of single-engine models, which includes the H125A Star and the H130, the milestone helicopter, and a H125 assembled in Macron in France. Marjan in France was handed over to Blue Helicopters, a French company that specialises in high altitude sling work. The Ecrul is currently operated by 2,014 customers in 124 countries in both civil and military versions, and has exceeded the 37 million flight hours. It holds several altitude records, including on the 14th of May 2005, when the Didier Decelles landed an H125 on the summit of Mount Everest. The types have been flying since 1974. That's huge. Additional information that John has very kindly shared. Ecrul is French for squirrel. There you go.
I like a bit of squirrel.
Well, quite absolutely.
Oh, John's speaking. He's speaking.
Yes. It's.
Trying to say the word
Ikril.
yeah, that.
Yeah, indeed. On that point, the Defence Helicopter Training Division of the UK Armed Forces used to use the Ecrul helicopter as a training aircraft. Their designation of the aircraft was the Squirrel HT1. I quite like that. The Ecrul family came about after it was decided that a civilian version of the famous word I'm not even going to try and pronounce, Aerospatial, that's it, yes. Alut 2 helicopter was a good idea. The helicopter was originally produced by Aerospatial manufacturer, and they merged with the German group Dassault Helicopter Division, who themselves have been in a merger with, oh my goodness, Daimler.
Does John not like
I
you?
don't think, but no, we've clearly we've clearly fallen out, and I don't know about it. That's clearly what's happened there. But anyway, I mean, it's a great helicopter here, as I say, one that's also been used by the UK as well. It's been a very popular helicopter. I mean, since 1974, this thing has been in the air. I've got some pictures actually. Let me just see if I can grab those while I'm trying to make that. My sincere apologies for my cough.
They
guys. It's
funnily enough, they use these quite a bit round here for the power line inspection.
Oh right,
helicopters.
okay.
Yeah. There's
they
a few
can
of
get
these
proper
around.
low, and are they? I guess they must be super controllable. Then is it?
They have quite a good. I think it's something to do with the field of vision you've got in the helicopter itself. You've got quite a few places to look out of, and they use them. They go low and slow along the power lines. They check the power lines here in the UK. I forget which companies use them now. Here I did. on top of my head now. It's not
yeah.
UK Power Networks. It's one of the big companies who uses those for the survey stuff. But yeah, they're a popular helicopter.
Yeah, indeed. Actually, John's added some extra information here. There aren't many aircraft, helicopters or otherwise, that have had more than 7,000 units made, and the ones that have had over 7,000 produced are still in production. That are still in production, or even less. Lamut Atlas, most produced hang glider, 8,000 plus built. The Cessna 206, 8,509 plus built. The A320 family, obviously it's an airline, an aircraft we're very, very familiar with. There's 10,359 built so far. That's changing all the time. The 737 family, I think most of these have been owned by Ryanair at some point. The 11,022 plus have been built. The Beechcraft Bonanza, 17,000. That's a big number, isn't it? And the MI8 and the MI17, the most produced helicopter, 17,000 plus built. The Cessna 182, 23,237 plus. The Piper PA-28 that we're also very familiar with, 32,778 been built. And then, of course, the little Cessna 172 that I think you've had a little fly of, haven't you, Carlos? Is it?
I've had a few hours in the 172. Yeah, that's the 4-seater version.
That's the 4-seater version. Yeah. Is it the 150, the normal one?
The 150 is a 2-seater trainer.
No, that's not in production anymore, I'm being told. But anyway, the Cessna 172. 44,000 plus.
Actually, it's quite interesting. I thought the Robinson was quite a popular one. The R44, the most produced reciprocating engine helicopter. Only 6,350 of those R44s produced. Now, I've never been a huge fan of the R44s because we see a lot of those flying around here because they're based over at Beccles up at Ella,
right?
With the helicopters flight school there. And I just always think the R44s. If you ever seen one of these up close, I just feel like the R44s look like if the wind changed direction quickly, they would disintegrate. They
do really. I'm sure they're not, but they do look really flimsy.
Flimsy is not the word for it.
I know what you mean. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, if you go to the heliport, the guys pull these out of the hangar using like a piece of twine. They weigh about 3 ounces. These helicopters, so
indeed.
Crazy.
Indeed.
But Nev, you've got the next story. I quite like this, Nev, because
I suspect he's had a lot of practice at this.
This goes very well with Nev's passenger experience.
Yeah, but a stop press news. I've just rebooked my flight from Düsseldorf back to London City, and BA have said, thank you very much. We're flying you back from Doncaster Sheffield Airport to London City, where the airline doesn't actually operate from.
What?
So we'll just deal with that later on. So I think
I'm sorry, what?
BA's IT does leave a bit to be desired sometimes. But
so hang on, I thought you were going to Dusseldorf, or have I lost the plot?
I am, yes. But
right.
They booked me on
Do
a
BA know
return
that?
flight. Yes, they booked me on a return flight on a sector that they don't actually operate.
Brilliant.
Okay. So
that went well then. Yeah.
Never mind. But talking of being delayed and being mucked about, well, why not head off to traveloffpath.com? It's the information they've given here. I just didn't know what I could do if my flight was delayed. I'm so pleased that we've got excellent information here. Number one, you could hit up the lounge. Well, standard fare for me. Lounge passes, credit cards, buddy apps for lounges, airline status, of course. And you can do pay-to-use lounges as well in a lot of places. Number two, catch up on your podcasts. Well, there's only one that you'd want to do that with, and that's ours, clearly.
Quite, absolutely.
Chill out, it says, as the number three suggestion. Well, I don't know how you do that when you're so delayed and probably a bit stressed as well, I would imagine. You can research your trip. Lonely Planet books in W.H. Smith's are quite good for this. You can do some work if you want to. Airport Wi-Fi is public, so recommend using a VPN. Well, good luck with all that, because the bandwidth on airport Wi-Fi is basically a bit of wet string, usually, with everyone jumping onto it at the same time. You can also browse the duty free, of course. Which seems to be a very popular thing.
Does that exist anymore?
It certainly does. Yes, absolutely. For reasons which are obvious, but I can't mention because we'll just get into that discussion again. You could play a card game. You've got Scrabble, Monopoly, things like that. Smiths is great for that, and also Hamleys also exist at Heathrow, Gatwick, and Manchester, to my knowledge as well. If you want to go to skyscanner.com, you could also work out as well, they suggest. Now, I wouldn't be doing that whilst I was delayed for my flight. But also for people that are not not going to do long haul flying, sitting around before the flight and then sitting for the whole of the flight itself isn't a great idea. So if you're in transit, you could actually, get up and walk around a bit. I would not suggest working out. That just is literally a step too far from my liking. You can also check out the airport art as well, and actually there's a surprisingly long list of airport that also double as art galleries. So that amongst a few of them are Doha, Rome, Fiumicino, Larnaca, Tel Aviv, San Francisco, Athens, Amsterdam, so you can forget about all the chaos there, Philadelphia, Newark, and Istanbul. Local artists and works provide cultural authenticity and character to airports. Pieces of art are good points of reference and waypoints in airports and help people navigate through terminals. And it also says that artwork can reduce stress. Well, I didn't know that, so I'll look at some art next time. I think clearly it was a bit of a slow news day when they wrote all this. I mean, no, it's some interesting things, but airport delays are never a great thing anyway. So anything which can improve the experience a little has to be a good thing, I suppose.
I always thought that the delay was a good time to go and chat up the ground handling staff to get that upgrade to Seat 1A.
It's all right, I suppose, if you know about the delay in advance. But I mean, a lot of people, sometimes you don't find out about the delay until it's way too late. And you're perhaps then in a part of the airport, for example, where there aren't nice things to go and do, like sit in Wetherspoons and do this. But Neil Lamorne is saying...
Bars are available.
Other bars are available. Neil Lamorne is saying, wrong, Nev, you only need to catch up on the podcasts you miss. Why is anyone missing PT UK? Good point well made, I think.
Very good point. Yeah, absolutely.
The Airstig makes a comment in the chat room just now. APG apparently helps him to get to sleep.
Right, and Richard Adams is saying, if you can pop that back up for me, John, sorry. Richard Adams is saying the delays are now nearly long enough to be able to listen to a whole episode of APG.
Oh, my word.
I know. Obviously, if you do have any complaints about what I've just said, then do please feel free to contact APG directly with complaints at airlinepilotguy.com, obviously.
Just a question for Nev. While we are on this subject, what is the best airport to get stuck in, Nev, in regards to things to do?
Oh, that's a very good question. Amsterdam's not a bad one because of the size of Schiphol is absolutely enormous, and I think they still have got their viewing deck available where that Fokker 100 is positioned, so that's quite good. So if it's busy on the ramp and the weather's nice, that's quite a good place. And there's some tables and chairs you can sit outside as well. There's an aircraft simulator you can play on as well. I seem to remember if they've still got that in there. It's more like an arcade game, but it's sort of the thing, isn't it? No, I think Schiphol's probably one of the better ones in the European region. A bit boring at Heathrow unless you're into shopping and this kind of stuff, but of course you've got to remember that some of the things that you could buy at the electrical stores in Heathrow may be more expensive than had you ordered them at home or on Amazon.
I know, that's a common problem, isn't it? That is.
If you're listening to this as an audio podcast and you have your favourite airport to get stuck in when you're delayed that has loads of stuff to do, let us know. Send us an email. Details at the end of the show. Oh, Captain Cruz is saying Changi.
Oh yes, that's a
Singapore Changi for sure.
Yeah, Singapore, yeah.
Yes,
Captain Cruz, yeah.
I know that. John was saying I think they've got a cinema there. I know they had a this was a while ago that I went through Kuala Lumpur Airport, and I remember watching Walk the Line, which is a very good film if you haven't seen it. And that was it was very well done in some respects because it was basically like a big sort of circle of seats in the middle of like a walkway, essentially, with like big high def screens and stuff all on it. But that worked really well as a sort of like a mini cinema and stuff to watch stuff. And I watched I watched that film. I think it was a 3 hour. I think I had a 3 hour stop at Kuala Lumpur before I then went on to New Zealand, and that kept me amused for ages.
Cinema's a good idea.
Dirk S is saying just don't get stuck in MXP or Milan or Charles de Gaulle Airport in Paris.
Oh, Charles de Gaulle.
Yeah. Why? Is it?
It's awful,
why?
Matt.
Why is it
It's
awful?
awful.
Why?
When you go through Charles de Gaulle Airport, it is literally like you've stepped into Marty McFly's DeLorean and gone back to 1985.
Oh, right. Dated, then? Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Okay.
yeah.
Right. Well, indeed, Captain Cruz is saying that Butterfly Park, this is at Singapore, by the way, sleeping pods, outdoor swimming pool, and a nice Harry's bar outside roof terrace. Where
I like that.
Where you can also watch the aeroplanes. And of course, Dirk S was saying, it's like, why are they saying all these things? It should absolutely say on there, just watch the aeroplanes, of course.
Do you know, that's one of the great things I will say that Luca done when they built the extension onto the terminal at Luca Airport in Malta. They built the CAF with a lounge area that overlooks the apron where the aircraft come and taxi in. Brilliant idea. Great place to sit and have a coffee and watch aircraft. More airports should do that kind of thing. So,
nice.
And actually, I was talking to Stuart Aslett, one of our listeners, Stuart Aslett, this week on the phone, and he was saying that he took a trip out to Gatwick this week to have a look around because he used to work there. He was based there many years ago.
Gosh.
And he was saying that Gatwick used to have a really good viewing lounge, which I myself visited quite a few times at Gatwick. And he was saying how it's gone. There's gone. There's nothing there. It's just hideous.
That's the same with Heathrow with the Queen's building, wasn't it? Same story there. What a pity.
Yeah.
And all the security business that was going on. And they both got closed, sadly.
Yeah, it's a great shame. I think a great shame.
I remember. Manchester Airport had a fantastic viewing gallery.
Back
in
the viewing ground is still there. The park is still there. Yeah. It's got that hump where you can stand on and you can watch the aircraft taxi past. Yeah,
this was in the terminal.
Yeah.
I mean, when I went, you went into you got in the lift and you went to the top of the building and this lovely sort of glass pod that and there was like a vending machine and all that kind of thing. There was a little cafe up there as well. But I don't know if any of that's still there now.
It's a shame because I think it's good for young people, especially when they're there with the parents, to be able to get to see, kind of see aircraft and stuff and see what goes on. But anyway, that's how we feel as aviation geeks. Obviously, many people don't see it that way. Next story. Moving on to a story from the BBC.com and .gov.uk/AAIB. This is all about the Zero Avia crash in test flight over Cranfield. Now, this is a story harking back to something that we covered back in April of 2021. We covered this on episode 366. This was story number 2 at the time. The electrically powered aircraft was undertaking experimental flight tests under E conditions when the power to the electric motors was lost. A forced landing was carried out close to Cranfield Airfield, during which the aircraft was severely damaged. And yes, it was. The loss of power occurred as part of the test procedure. The battery was selected off with the intention of leaving the electrical motors solely powered by the hydrogen fuel cell. During this interruption, the windmilling propeller generated a voltage high enough to operate the inverter protection system, which locked out the power to the motors. The pilot and observer were unable to reset the systems and restore electrical power. The report found a number of factors contributed to the accident, including an ineffective emergency procedure, inefficient ground testing, and the failure to review the risk assessment after the loss of propulsion on 2 previous flights. The report also said the experiment team had a high workload and there was pressure on them to achieve a long duration demonstration flight by the end of May 2021.
I mean, the bit that worries me there the most, if I'm brutally honest, is the bit where it says that, there were 2 previous problems. It's almost like this thing happened twice before and no lessons were learned, or not enough time was given to learn to deal with it. And that's the bit that worries me about that story at all. I mean, you've got... this is innovative flight, isn't it? This is a new technology, and I can't help but feel that this particular company haven't done it right. Do you know what I mean?
Well, Neil Cloughley mentioned this during the 400th show.
He did, yes.
When we had a discussion about electrically powered aircraft. And that's why Faraday's decision is to go down the hybrid route because of safety concerns, although there seems to be some other stuff going on here, which Neil didn't actually speak directly about. But now that the full report's out, you can see what's gone on here. I think that the worrying thing is the last paragraph, where it says the report said the experiment team had a high workload and there was pressure on them to achieve a long duration demonstration flight by the end of May 21. Wrong answer. The correct answer is you must make sure that the aircraft is safe, regardless of any other business going on. So
no other external forces should be involved in.
Totally.
Absolutely. And this is the thing. It was, and that's one of the things, again, sort of like, as you were saying, like the hybrid idea that Faraday are going down with a changeable power supply. Because, I mean, he was the first to admit that batteries just aren't up to the job right now. For long-term, long-term solutions and stuff. But the ability, like with their aircraft that they've got in mind, to be able to sort of change that for like basically a small generator. That's essentially what it was, isn't it? Basically the glorified baby APU, wasn't it? That he was
also using products that have already been certified
and tested,
certificated, for specific jobs. So it's. I don't know, but a very, very bad situation there, definitely.
Funnily enough, I saw another Tesla fire on the news this week, where the car had caught fire again. Another Tesla car.
Oh, was it? I missed that.
Batteries, thermal management issues. How surprising.
Yeah, well, and the trouble is once the runaway has started, there's very little you can do about it, isn't there?
That is the last thing you need when you're flying an aircraft, is to have a fire. Yeah, not a good thing.
Agreed, although you don't have any fuel to worry about in that particular scenario.
Well, no, fires are still not a good thing, even without
Really? Oh, you do surprise me. Okay, no, fair enough, yeah.
No,
honestly,
Matt.
Glass half full, honestly.
I know. You've got... I love this story. Matt, you've got this next story. We're going to Auntie Liz's neck of the woods for this one.
Are we? Yes. Okay. So Air Canada baggage woes is the story. I mean, to be fair, you could replace that first part with BA, EasyJet, any other airline, but essentially this particular story is Air Canada baggage woes. And this is on the businessinsider.com website. An Air Canada passenger
apologies there, Matt. So just he's like 80%
yeah,
over
we're nearly
his,
there. Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, before it happens again, it's an Air Canada passenger who recently lost luggage said she deliberately only packed a carry-on bag to avoid the travel disruption consuming the airline industry, but was later made to check the bag in only to have the airline misplace it. Emily Matino, who's travelled with a partner from LAX to Barcelona via Air Canada on June the 29th, told Insider that she was made to check the bag at LAX after the airline told her that that there was no more room for carry-ons. And I've had this experience before when I've been on a Ryanair flight, and they've told me that that there's no room and that I've got to put my bag in the hold. And I actually did something which I wouldn't normally do. I really stood my ground. I know producer John will be horrified by this, but it was. I got a hard drive. So I'd been to a wedding basically. So I'd flown to Scotland, and it was in a lovely village called Kenmore, which is right on the banks of the Loch Tay, an absolutely beautiful place it was. And I basically had all of the wedding video footage and all of the photographs, and I was having to literally explain that this is the only digital copy we have of these things, so please don't get me, it's like, I don't care if you won't let me board the flight, this is not going in the hole, because what the contents of that hard drive is too precious, literally too precious. Yeah, no, absolutely. And John's saying his response would have been to refuse me to go on the flight, which is absolutely the right thing to do. I'm under no illusions there, but it was just like, this stuff was so precious.
I think we've all done the same, Matt. We've all been down that road, especially with with Ryanair and EasyJet. If you've got something, I've done exactly the same when I had both my DSLR cameras in my hand luggage bag and flew with Ryanair. There was no way I was going to be checking that bag in to go in the hold, not with the cameras and stuff in there.
No,
that was going to be staying with me and going in the overhead locker regardless. Even if it had to go in the locker in row 3 and I was in row 20 or whatever, it was going to go on board. But it's the risk you take. If you're willing to take that risk. Yeah,
there is that. And I mean, one thing that I was interested. So obviously, I'm giving you an example of what I'm referring to there. So speaking from my own personal experience, Emily's obviously had something similar. Now, I was intrigued to know what the consumer rights are in a situation like this. I mean, where do you stand? Do you if you've agreed that you've got a carry-on bag and the airline decide that you want to have it in the hold, do you have the right to refuse, like what I have? So, I mean, are they in the is stuff like that in the terms and conditions? I mean, Nev, you probably know better than I do in terms of stuff like that.
I think it depends on the crew on the day, actually.
Yeah,
and how nice you are to them as well. Another top tip from your Uncle Nev here, if you're going to have a difference of opinion with the crew, do it in a reasonable manner. I've seen some horrific examples in the last month where people have been completely unreasonable as well.
Yes, yeah.
And of course there is a limit on compensation that they will pay for a lost bag as well. So that's all set down in the T's and C's.
Indeed. And in my example that I gave, actually, to be fair, when I explained the situation, they were very understanding, actually, when they hadn't, they didn't have to be. They could have been absolutely horrible and sort of, and they did sort of fully understand the reason why I was so nervous about this particular hard drive going into the hold. So credit where credit's due. Now, obviously, Nev, you've invested in some AirTags, haven't you? Because off the back of a very similar situation.
Yes, I mean, that's not going to get my bag back, but at least if I'm experiencing what should we say, a difference of opinion with the baggage handling company, who tell me it'll be on the way very shortly, Mr. Bounds. It's just coming around the corner. I can say, no, it's still in London, and here it is. So
here is my proof.
Yes,
indeed.
But at least it gives you some idea of where it is, even if they don't know where it is. Missing and late baggage is a bit of a thing at the moment, that's for sure. Almost doesn't matter which airport you're flying out of, I don't think, or with which carrier. There's always the possibility of some stuff going wrong here.
So interestingly enough, if going back to what you were saying there, Nev, if your bag is lost more than 21 days, you can claim up to €1,300 in Europe.
Indeed, yes.
Which is a good. In the UK, it's about 1,000. I mean, is it one of these though where I don't know if BA do this, Nev. You may know better. I mean, are you able to sort of pay to guarantee that your bag would stay on board. Is that an option with BA?
No, and again, what's happening at the moment is that because all the flights are so full at the moment, there's very few seats available on any aircraft currently. BA certainly, and maybe other carriers as well, are encouraging you to check in your bag at the gate so that there's plenty of room for everybody else. And the result of that is that the people that do let them do that, a situation the other week was about 35 people came forward to check in their bags. Of course, that just delays the departure of the aircraft for starters, but also does run the possibility of the bag not getting there. Although once it's as far as the gate, then the ground handling staff, you've got a better chance of actually getting it on the plane because you've not got to put it through the automated system on the belt and all the rest of it. But no, I think, my advice would be, split stuff between, if you've got more than one person travelling, split stuff between you if you can. Don't check it all in, and anything which is really important, like medicines or valuable things, make sure you keep them with you. But no, I think there's no. I think you'd be definitely on the back foot if you started to insist about things without being nice to the check-in staff. Definitely.
So here's a crazy idea for you, Nev. Okay. I'm trying. So John in the notes has put a fascinating a bit of a link in basically, and it's a website called mybaggage.com. And what is really interesting about this is essentially like posting your luggage. It's like courier for baggage essentially. So it's a way of I don't know. If
I'm looking
to like
now.
guarantee that your guarantee that your baggage is going to arrive. I mean, there's one word in here that will probably make your blood boil, so I apologise in advance for that. But it's mybaggage.com, and I was looking at a quote to send this. Basically, I wonder if I can get it to come up on screen. Just bear with me a moment.
I've just for and giggles.
Yes.
I've looked at sending my case from here to Malta. It's apparently, according to this, it'll take between 1 and 2 days, and for up to 20 kilos it's 110 quid, and for up to 30 kilos it's 145 quid.
So we can do.
They'll collect it from my home Monday.
Wow. So we could do slightly better than that, actually. So here's an example that I've just looked up. So we're going from the UK mainland to Spain. Say we were going on holiday there. It's actually, if you choose the economy version, now apologies, Nev, in advance here, Brexit and fuel surcharge is active on this one. I'm not quite sure what they mean by Brexit anymore, if I'm honest, but we'll gloss over that. 3 to 4 days for a bag up to 20 kilograms. It's only £36. Here's the interesting bit: if it's up to 30 kilograms, it's only another £2. So 38 quid. So the earliest collection would be this Monday coming if you book in the next couple of hours, and it'll arrive in 3 to 4 days. I think that's pretty cool.
Bizarrely enough, to send a suitcase from here to Armando over in the US, 2 to 3 days, and for up to 30 kilos, which is not a bad weight for a suitcase, 115 quid.
I wonder how much that would cost you with someone like UPS or.
It's way more than 115 quid for that weight.
Yeah.
Oh my word!
Yeah.
Easily, way more than that.
Yeah.
For that weight, you'd be looking at least double, if not a double and a half, of that to say. I'll tell you what, that's not a bad. I think I'm gonna, when we send gifts out to Armando in future, I think I'm just gonna send him a suitcase.
Absolutely. So yeah, so a top travel trip there. I was going to ask for top travel tips, but I think John has already given us the best one. It's mybaggage.com as a way of guaranteeing that your suitcase is going to arrive there on time, I guess. I mean, is there any guarantee? Because I presume it's still going by. Will it still be going by like flights and stuff as per normal, or
yes,
is it?
I think it will be.
Yes. Okay. So there's still no guarantee that it'll pop out at Heathrow the other end, but it's probably insured as John was.
I mean, they've got a list on this My Baggage thing. You can send bicycles, golf bags.
Yeah.
there is the only thing that they say you cannot send are aerosols and liquids.
But that's no different to any
That's no
any
different,
flight, is it? Absolutely.
And lithium-ion batteries.
And
presumably.
lithium-ion batteries.
Oh,
So
what an
Nev,
interesting sight.
So Nev, off the back of your recent experiences, obviously you've got the air tags and everything. Oh, Richard Adams is saying probably less than the EasyJet baggage costs. He's probably right. Off the back of your recent experiences in terms of like luggage and stuff, is there any travel tips that you would offer our wonderful listeners?
No, I just think that knowing what can go wrong at the moment, it's just wise to keep all the important stuff with you, and you can still actually put a lot of stuff into a bag and still be legal in terms of the the baggage size to go onto the aircraft. And if you need to take more than that, then you're gonna have to check in the bag probably. But BA certainly allow you a reasonable size small suitcase and a hold all or a backpack. So yeah, I mean I think that with the current situation, I would advise not to check stuff in if you can possibly help it. And if you do have to, make sure that it's not mission critical stuff like medicines or cameras or things like that.
True, indeed. There we go. Top tip. It's a Nev top tip then. Basically, carry on only. That's what you're advising essentially.
Simon Calder taught me everything I know. So there we
Excellent. Oh well, there we are then. Very good, very good.
Yeah, it's like Dirk Guest says, new category on the show, Uncle Nev's top tips. So this next story
I
comes
like
to
it.
us. I know.
John,
This
start
comes-
making the stingers immediately.
Here we go. The story comes from Fox Business, and Biden administration says 66 years old is too old for commercial pilots as president nears 80 years old. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg, well, sorry for our US listeners.
Pronounced Buttigieg, I think.
Buttigieg, I don't know. Dave expressed his opposition to raising the airline pilot retirement age from 67 from 65 over, or to 67 from 65 over the weekend, Fox News said on Sunday, as his boss nears octogenarian status. While speaking on Fox News Sunday, the Transportation Secretary said that the retirement ages were there for a reason and that he was not going to be on board with anything that compromises safety. The answer is not to keep the baby boomer generation in the cockpit indefinitely, he said, but Fox Business asked the White House and Department for Transportation why the administration believe 66 is too old to become a commercial pilot, but 80 isn't too old to become or be the president of the United States. So for me, I mean, I know quite a few pilots who are all above the age of 70 who pass their medical every year and are probably more blinking healthy than what I am. And for me personally, if you can pass the medicals, which aren't just, they're not like Mickey Mouse medicals. They are, the medicals you have to take to be a pilot are fairly stringent. If you can pass a medical like that, even at the age of 70 or 60 or 70 years old, then why shouldn't you be allowed to carry on flying? Thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's all about safety, the airline business, and if you can pass the medical and you've got the experience and you're qualified to fly on the aircraft, then that's the end of it. And so if there is a proposal to raise the age to 67 with all those checks in place, then fair enough. It wasn't that long ago that British Airways captains had to retire at 55. So we've come a long way since then, that's for sure. But no, it's all about the medical and the competency of flying the aircraft.
Indeed. The Airstick is saying the retirement age is there for the unions as an option. But yeah, as you say, if they're passing the medical, I mean, what's the issue? I mean, it's a challenging one, isn't it? Really, I mean, dare I say the words? It's almost like being ageist. Just because you've hit a certain number, that means you're no longer allowed to, even if you are passing the medical. I just find it very strange in this day and age.
I just think if you've passed your medical, if you can see, if your sight is good and your hearing is good, I just don't see,
Don't see what the issue is.
you've been signed off by a medical examiner, why you shouldn't be allowed to do what you love doing, which is flying for a lot of people. So,
And let's be honest, those medicals are really stringent. So I mean, there's a very good chance if there was some underlying health condition that would have absolutely been picked up. But,
yes.
Yeah.
Now, moving from one sort of age-related story onto another with you, Nev, and this is staggering.
I think this is a great story. This is on onemileatatime.com, and it says that 96-year-old celebrates 80 years working at American Airlines. And this week's American Airlines most senior employee is celebrating his 80th anniversary. No, not his 80th birthday, but his 80th anniversary of working for the airline.
What?
Al Blackman is an aviation maintenance technician based in New York, and not surprisingly, Blackman holds the Guinness World Record for having the longest career as an airline mechanic. When Blackman was just 16 years old, and he graduated from Aviation High School in Manhattan and took a job with American Airlines, which was American Export Airlines at the time, as an apprentice in the sheet metal shop for 50 cents an hour. For his 75th anniversary, the airline dedicated a Boeing 777 in his honour, which he then took on a joyride above New York. Some 30 years ago, Blackman was honoured with the FAA's Charles E. Taylor Master Mechanic Award, a feat only awarded to individuals with 50 years of experience in aviation maintenance as an accredited mechanic or repairman certified by the FAA for at least 30 years. That's an incredible innings, isn't it? Absolutely brilliant. And to start with, working for the same company more or less for the whole that time.
It's rare that you have somebody who works for the same company their entire working life these days.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, that wasn't uncommon, was it, back in the day? But
No, and I think the things have changed a lot now, haven't they? Where you don't get people working at the same firm for many years. But no, this is a great story, and I think we're going to hear more about this because there's going to be a press release about it soon, I think. So no, very very good stuff and superb innings. Yeah,
absolutely love it.
Yeah, good on them. Good on
love
them,
it. Good story, that like that.
Nice picture as well there.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was.
So that is where we bring the commercial news part of the show to a close this week. Loads of good stories in there this week, which has been good. Now, moving on to the next part of the show. And Nev, a few weeks ago, we went and done something very special, didn't we?
We did, yes. On Sunday, the 3rd of July, Dan over at Seething Airfield very kindly allowed us to pop over there with the cameras and the mics to film and talk about the fly-in that they had arranged. And what a day it was. I mean, the weather was absolutely perfect for a start, which was superb. The food, obviously, sensational. Well, more about that later on.
Very important.
But no, Carlos and I really enjoyed ourselves, and thanks to Dan and everybody else at Seething for arranging it. So we've got some video to play out. We're going to be playing out some interviews over the next few weeks. But let's go over to Seething and join Carlos now.
Well, we are here finally at Seething, aren't we? Our first sort of outing really this year, Nev.
And it's 3rd of July, so it's taken a while, hasn't it?
It's taken a while.
God.
Sun is shining. It's nice and clear today. A little bit breezy, but it's nice and clear out here today. And we're here for the Seething Fly-In Day. And you can probably see just behind me there, Dan's Long EZ, G Muso, which is behind us there. Dan's very kindly invited us here today and sorted us out with a very good interview we're going to be doing later on with Patrick and Linda.
Yeah, looking forward to that.
Looking forward to that. And there's also lots more Long EZs that are doing today. I think there's going to be over 10 or 15 Long EZs flying in, along with other aircraft as well. So we're looking forward to that very much indeed. But Nev, you had a good journey down to the east of England?
Yes. Had the Holiday Inn breakfast experience this morning on the Ipswich Road in Norwich, which was very nice indeed. And there's some barbecue promised for later on as well, apparently. So
yes,
that's
barbecue.
nice, isn't it?
Barbecue.
So we're not really short of food today, I don't think.
No, very much looking forward to the barbecue. They're just setting it up now, just behind us there, or in front of us there, I should say. So it'll be ready later on this afternoon for us to delve into. But like I said, there's loads more aircraft due in today. There was actually a long EZ that flew over on the down. Well, actually, it was on dead side of the airfield just a moment ago. So he will probably be coming in sometime soon, I'd imagine, flying around somewhere, Nev. Hopefully,
Yes,
he'll
yeah.
be here somewhere.
But, no, it's a great little airfield, this, isn't it? And
Yes.
run by some very enthusiastic volunteers, and yeah, absolutely superb. So yeah, I'm looking forward to a great day's flying, interviewing,
Chatting, pictures, food, food and stuff, and hopefully we'll also take a little dip into the hangars as well later on. For those of you who might not have seen before the footage that we had when we were here last of the awesome turntable they've got in the hangar there.
That was great, wasn't
where
it?
you can just pick an aircraft, press a button, and the turntable brings your aircraft to you, which is a fantastic bit of kit. But yes, so Nev, I suppose we better go and prepare ourselves. We can just.
Somebody else up there.
Somebody else up there.
Yeah.
I suppose we better get on.
Yep, let's do that.
Back with more stuff later on. And we are still at Seething in the glorious sunshine with a bit of a breeze blowing right now. And I'm here with Dan. Obviously, Dan's been on the show a few times before, and Dan very kindly invited us here to Seething for the fly-in today. So, Dan, welcome back onto the show. Good to see you.
Welcome back to Seething. It's good
Thank
to see
you.
you again.
Yeah.
And congratulations on your success since you've been here last. You guys are really
thank you.
storming up the charts. And, yeah, so well done.
Thank you, Dan. It's great to be here. I mean, a great turnout of aircraft, and they're still flying in now.
They are, and we're running out of places to park them, so that should be interesting.
So, Dan, we're here next to your long EZ,
Yeah.
and obviously we've seen it on the show before, but you've made a few changes actually inside the aircraft, haven't you, since we last spoke to you?
Yeah, since the lockdown, it's had a whole new panel put in. It's got an MGL EFIS now, a new radio, 833 radio, trig transponder, electronic ignition. It's got a different prop on now. That's a Gary Hertzler silver bullet prop. Lightweight starter. Just bits and pieces.
You got bored over lockdown,
Yeah, we had to do something, you know.
so you spent out now. That's it.
I'm broke.
You're broke. Oh,
Can't afford to fly anymore, but
having an aircraft is not a cheap thing.
it's not.
So a bit about the panels you got inside there then.
It's an MGL Explorer EFIS. Everything shows up on the screen. All your engine instruments, all what you would normally be the six-pack, that's on the screen. Navigation, autopilot, everything on the screen. There is redundancy. I kept the airspeed indicator and the altimeter. The radio has a head, so you can control that from the EFIS or from the radio head, same as the transponder. I keep the iPad in there to run SkyDemon on, and that's Bluetooth to the pilot-aware traffic system. That gives you all the traffic in your area. That came in handy.
You've
about
got a bit
6
of a
weeks
story
ago.
about that.
Yeah, we flying near Beccles where you live, the parachute airplane up and down all day long. I was well outside their zone, and he actually buzzed in front of me. I got a traffic warning, and within 2 seconds he crossed my path, probably 100 foot in front of me. But
Ow.
so when we contacted the Airprox board, and they wanted to know if we had any other data we could send them, and using the pilot aware, we could download all the traffic data, put it into a program, and it would replay the sequence so you can see exactly what happened. So they're using that, and we should get the report next month.
Wow. So any kind of thoughts yourself as to what?
Well, we give them a wide berth at Beccles, because of the parachuting, but yeah, you always got to be vigilant and keep a good lookout because they come down fast.
Yeah.
And even though I had my traffic warning set to warn me anything 1,000 foot above, when they're coming down at 3,000 foot a minute, 4,000 foot a minute, that's not really a lot of time. So I've changed it now. That warns me at 5,000 feet above, so you get a little bit more time. But without that, I might not have even noticed.
Wow.
Yeah, so something to think about.
Well, it's good to have that thing on board.
Oh, definitely. I
Yeah.
would highly recommend it. Pilot aware. They can see you, you can see them. It makes everybody safer.
So can we ADSB out on this so you can
It has
we can see
ADS-B
you?
out as well, so it's kind of redundant. I use it more for the input because they're going to see me anyway with the ADS-B out if they've got some sort of receiver, Sky Echo, Pilot Aware, any of those. But yeah, I use it for the input.
So what have you been up to then, Dan, flying-wise? I mean, obviously a few weeks ago I saw you flying literally right over the top of the house there with another aircraft, which was quite a nice sight to see.
Yeah,
but what else have you been up to?
Nothing really long distance, just been flying locally. When you saw me flying, we were doing a video for the daughter of the man who built my plane. He sadly passed away a couple months ago. And on Father's Day, she asked if she could come over and see the aircraft.
Oh, I saw that online. That was
she
fantastic.
had some fond memories of growing up with him. It took him 7 years to build the plane. And she came over, we took her for a flight, made a video. It was a good day.
Oh, wow. Where can people, because that was a lovely video, can people find that video anywhere?
The YouTube channel, if you look up Seething Airfield Pilots and Friends, that's my channel, and all our videos are on there.
Because it was a fantastic, and it's so poignant as well.
Yeah.
To have, you know, the smile on her face.
Yeah, says it all.
Yeah, it says it all. Any plans going ahead for the future then, Dan? Any more?
In the next couple of weeks, I think we're going to go across the channel, Latuke, just for a day out, have lunch over there, and I'll see where that takes us.
Oh, I'll look forward to the invite then, Dan, when that comes through the post.
No problem.
Well, Dan, it's been lovely to talk to you again,
You
as
too.
always here. It's great to be back at Seething.
Yeah, thanks for coming over.
No, it's good. Any more sort of lined up for the rest of the year at Seething here? Any more?
There's going to be a beer festival on the other side of the airfield with a brewery.
Did you
hosting
say
it.
beer?
Yeah, beer. You can come in, you can fly in and camp. Details are still being worked out, but we'll let you know.
Oh, excellent. That'll be a good one to come and visit again, I think, with a tent in hand rather than drive.
That's right.
Well, great to see you anyway, Dan, and look forward to hearing about all the travels you have in the future. But yeah, don't forget to check out that YouTube page as well. Again, just quickly for the listeners, that YouTube page again was
Seething Airfield Pilots and Friends.
There we go. We'll put the links in the show notes. And Dan, have a great day.
Yeah, thanks for coming over.
Cheers. Thank you, Dan.
Now, I don't care what anyone says. I swear that is the coolest aircraft I think I've ever
Oh,
seen. It's
brilliant,
such a cool aircraft, isn't it?
it is.
I don't think
it is.
genuinely, I don't think I've ever seen anything like it.
It's the and I hate to admit this live on air. It's one of the few times that I've felt queasy in a GA aircraft was when Dan took me for a flight over Great Yarmouth Seafront and that. And on it, it's an amazing bit of kit. It's quick. It is very quick. It's not your Cessna 150 kind of speeds. We're not talking 80 or 90 knots here. We're talking 100 plus knots in these. But it's such a nice bit of kit, that aircraft. Actually, a few people in chat rooms were commenting on the fact that the nose wheel gear kind of retracts underneath, but which does make it look quite strange when you see those sitting on the parked up on the flight line there at Seething. But there was loads there, wasn't there? There was quite a few turned up on the day. There was well over 10 long easies turned up on the.
Oh yeah,
on the day.
Dan did a great job there, and also coordinating all the parking, all the ground handling. That was quite challenging at times, I'm sure. But now we've got several weeks more of content from Seething, I'm pleased to say. We've got a cracking interview coming up with a chap called Mike with his Cessna 150 Aerobat next week. That is a fascinating chat with Mike that we had as well. So we're looking forward to that. And once again, Dan, thanks ever so much for letting us come along.
So
Yes.
what else did you stumble across there, by the way? I mean, obviously the Long EZ and that, and then the Cessna that Nev's just mentioned. What else did you see during your visit?
Oh well, we had a nice visit to the air traffic control tower. That was a fascinating interview that Carlos did there as well. And we've got a couple who had flown around the world nearly in their Long Easy, and that's going to be part of a sort of a 3-part series, I think, that we'll do, which is just unbelievably interesting. So yeah, we'll put that up shortly. But no, all good stuff, and I hope people enjoy it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we're looking forward to the next flying. Dan, I know you're watching the show. So again, as Nev said, thanks to Dan and all the team at Seething, and loads more content to come in future shows here on PT UK.
Really can't wait.
So next part of the show, then, it's military time, especially for all you fans of military. Mr. Warner, I know he's not in there this week, but he'll be listening to the show, no doubt, at some
He's
point.
at RIAT, that's why.
He's at RIAT, I know. He's busy, bless him. Pictures to follow, no doubt. So Armando has put together a military segment for us this week and very kindly done some videos for us. So, Armando, if you're ready, let's do some military news.
Blast up buggies 13550, Angel 16, heading 340. Okay. 108 buggies.
We haven't spoken about the situation in Ukraine for a couple weeks now. Our first military story comes to us from BulgarianMilitary.com. Ukraine will receive Slovakia's entire fleet of MiG-29 Fulcrum fighters or 12 combat aircraft, one of which was used as a trainer by the Slovak Air Force. The donation comes thanks to a bilateral agreement between the Czech Republic and Slovakia that the Czech Air Force will protect Slovakia's airspace until Bratislava receives 12 F-16 Block 70 units ordered by the U.S. in the coming months. This information comes from the Spanish online portal Info Defensa. Slovakia was one of the first countries in the world that decided to purchase the latest version of that notorious F-16, the Block 70. According to a signed agreement between the U.S. and Slovakia, the new F-16s were supposed to land mid-2020. However, the Greenville plant was also affected by the coronavirus epidemic, which forced Americans to make new plans for deliveries to each country, including Bulgaria, which is next in line after Slovakia for waiting for its 8 F-16 Block 70s. Now, if you guys recall, at the end of April, the United States announced that Ukraine, quote, had more fixed-wing fighters now than they did a few weeks ago. That was a quote from U.S. Defense Secretary John Kirby, avoiding clarifying the origin of the additional aircraft, but admitting that it was due to foreign aid. The fact that the country's fleet, Ukraine, has increased, he said, quote, is not a coincidence because other nations that have experience with this type of aircraft have been able to help them launch more aircraft. Now, at the time, the Pentagon spokesman hinted that these aircraft would already be available to Kyiv and had already received certain spare parts and assistance that would allow them to be returned to the air. However, during a press conference held at the time, the defense secretary added a warning that he did not want to get into what other nations are offering because of the danger that it could pose if Moscow concluded that the supply of material implies direct NATO involvement in the conflict. Now, this is incredibly important for Ukraine in their continued self-defense. As you guys know, the entire world has rallied behind Ukraine, and receiving these 12 MiG-29 aircraft is going to be incredibly important for them to continue defending their the skies above Ukraine.
I mean, it's a fascinating story, I suppose.
Yes, thank you for that, Armando. And I thought that there was a rule or something that where countries couldn't kind of sort of gift stuff like that to the Ukraine, but
I mean, to be fair, they might just pay £1 for it. Do you know what I mean? I mean, it's not, it's like one of those. It's if you give me £1, it's yours. It's like I think they did something similar with Concorde back in the day. You sort of like, here's £1, it's yours type, or you give me £1 and it's now yours.
It's nice. No, it's a nice thing to do as well. It's just a shame that we have, we have to have this situation in the Ukraine. Really, that this is happening. But we're not going to get political on the show. That's not what we're about.
No,
it's a shame. Moving on to the next story from Armando, and in this one, Armando is talking to us all about a Navy FA-18 Super Hornet that was blown off an aircraft carrier.
This second military story, there are many ways to lose an aircraft in war. Anti-aircraft missiles, enemy fighter jets, human error, strained airframes from high operational tempos. All of those things could result in a lost aircraft. During peacetime, most aircraft are lost due to mechanical failure, human error, pilot error. It's seldom that a fighter jet with a price tag of more than $50 million just rolls overboard from an aircraft carrier.
Yet, it seems that this is exactly what happened when the U.S. Navy lost an F-18 Super Hornet late last week. On 8 July, this Hornet, assigned to Carrier Air Wing 1, and it was aboard the USS Harry Truman, it was blown overboard due to heavy seas caused by a storm in the Mediterranean Sea. When the accident happened, the USS Truman was conducting a replenishment at sea operation where helicopters usually ferry supplies out to the aircraft carrier and smaller warships sail alongside of it with supplies. The F-18 Super Hornet must not have been secured down adequately. According to a U.S. Navy press release, one sailor did receive minor injuries while conducting operations during this unexpected heavy weather. The sailor is in stable condition and expected to make a full recovery. They added that all personnel aboard the ship are accounted for. The Navy also said that the USS Harry Truman and the embarked aircraft remained in fully mission-capable status. Details and the cause of the incident are, of course, under investigation. Now, this is the third and the second in the Mediterranean Sea aircraft carrier accident involving fighter jets in the last few months. The Royal Navy had the honors of starting the unhappy string of accidents back in 2021. In November, the new British aircraft carrier, the HMS Queen Elizabeth, was sailing in the Mediterranean on her way back to the United Kingdom, finishing its inaugural operational deployment. At that time, an F-35B was scheduled for a routine training sortie, but went down immediately after taking off. It was revealed later because an engine cover had been forgotten on the aircraft. Now, the second accident took place in January, when an American F-35C crashed on the deck of the aircraft carrier USS Carl Vinson while trying to land. Now, as you guys can imagine, there are going to be some people that are going to have to stand in front of the man and explain why it was that this aircraft was not tied down when this adverse weather hit the aircraft carrier. So hopefully we will track this story and find out somewhere in the 2025, 2026 time frame what actually happened with this incident.
All I can say is it must have been one hell of a wind to move that aircraft and blow it off the deck. You know, this is not a paper airplane. And there's been quite a few comments actually in the chat room as well.
It doesn't make sense to me because it's just like, I mean, somebody made a big mistake there, didn't they?
Someone didn't put the handbrake on, Matt.
Yeah, fair. Yeah, I'll give you that. Yeah. Yeah, does a handbrake make a difference in the wind?
Yeah,
not, yeah.
Well,
Miles High is saying 21st century and this is happening not good. Very, very good point. Neil Lamborn is saying it must have been just before the end of its warranty.
I love Dirk S's comment.
Go on in.
There was a lot into submarine fighter jets lately. Very true, Dirk.
There's been a couple of those lately, hasn't there? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. There's Miles High saying, sure it wasn't a Thunderbird hiding on a carrier. Yeah.
Very good, yeah. Spectrum is green.
Indeed. Isn't that the other
Neil...
one? Spectrum is green, isn't there?
Oh, is that Captain Scarlet? Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say.
Captain Cruz actually makes a very good point. There are thousands of sea containers lost overboard from ocean vessels every year, each 40 foot long and up to 30 ton. Yeah, I mean, he's right. There are a lot of containers that are lost overboard every year,
and it's usually one of mine that I've been waiting.
Yeah,
for 6 weeks
it's your
already.
delivery. Yeah,
absolutely.
Your delivery
of
a.
It's usually my wish delivery that should have arrived months ago. But anyway, there we go. Yeah. Neil Lamord is saying a lot more planes in the sea than submarines in the sky. Good point.
It's true. Yeah,
it is very true. Yeah, indeed.
And Dirk says, yeah, unexpected heavy weather. Oh, come on. Should have watched the Med Marine weather forecast.
Yeah,
very true.
Or Weather Quest. You know, Dan would have told you. Yeah, Dan would have told you all about it.
Yeah.
It's. I mean, honestly, Nev. I mean,
it must have been
going
a gust.
on here? Yeah. Well, what's going on here?
Yeah, I think someone's made an error, I would say. And there will be punishment meted out and paperwork to fill in.
Perhaps the guys were on the deck of the aircraft carrier, and someone said, "Can you take those chocolates away?" And they took the chocks away.
Very good.
I know I'm here all week. Are you? Oh.
John's
John's just jealous. Right, we'll
Yeah.
go to the next story. And
Please bail us
this
out of
next
this
story,
quickly. Keep digging.
this next story comes to us from Armando again. And this is all about the Invictus Armed Scout helicopter, which is looking pretty damn awesome.
This next story is from thedrive.com. Bell has released new pictures and a video of the first prototype of its Invictus 360, which it now says is over 90% complete. The advanced helicopter is the company's entry into the Army's Future Attack Reconnaissance Aircraft Program, or FARA, where it is going head-to-head with Sikorsky's Raider X. The Texas-headquartered aviation company first unveiled the Invictus 360 design, which is a conventional reconnaissance and light attack helicopter primarily optimized for speed and comparatively low cost of production. Now, they did that back in 2019. In March, Bell representatives at the HAI Heli Expo 2022 trade show said that the prototype was around 87% finished. These pictures now show that the Invictus 360 has largely taken shape, with its fuselage appearing complete, at least externally. The helicopter's general configuration is very typical of modern armed helicopters, with the pilot and co-pilot sitting in a tandem arrangement, one behind the other, in the forward position of the fuselage. Now, according to Bell, its design is not optimized for radio frequency low observability, or stealth, in any major way. The Invictus's main and tail rotors, each of which has 4 blades, are now installed. The helicopter's rotor system is derived from one on the Bell 525 Relentless helicopter. The initial design concept included a canted, ducted tail rotor assembly, but the actual prototype has a traditional exposed tail rotor, more like the one on the Relentless. Bell has said that this change was made to reduce weight and improve the helicopter's performance. Now, the pictures that Bell put out recently also showed the Invictus 360 prototype with what will look to be the mock-ups of the main elements of its future armament suite. This includes a 20mm 3-barrel Gatling type cannon, like those seen on some aircraft under the nose, and 4 rail-mounted weapons racks, one on each side of the central fuselage. In their deployed configuration, these racks hang on rails below the wings, the helicopter's stub wings, but they can be retracted and stowed internally when not in use for optimal performance. What appears to be representations of either Hellfire missiles or AGM-179 joint air-to-ground missiles, as well as common launch tubes, all appear to be loaded on the racks themselves. CLTs, as the name indicates, can be loaded with various munitions as well as air-launched drones. When it comes to the FARA program, the Army envisions whatever helicopter it chooses as being able to employ various types of unmanned systems, also referred to as air-launched effects, or ALEs, from these tubes. Once launched, the ALEs will be able to operate in swarms to perform stand-in electronic attack, loitering, strike, surveillance, and other tasks, as you can imagine. Now, the main thing still missing from the Invictus 360 prototype is the General Electric T901 turboshaft engine. In this design, the engine sits offset to the left of the main rotor assembly. It will also have a Pratt & Whitney PW207 turboshaft on the opposite side to provide auxiliary power. Now, the FARA helicopters are expected to take the place of the AH-64 Apache helicopters that have been serving in that attack and reconnaissance role since the Army retired its OH-58 Kiowas without a direct replacement back in 2014. Exactly what will happen to the AH-64s in question afterwards remains to be seen, but many of them could end up removed entirely from the service's inventory. The performance of helicopters on both sides of the conflict in Ukraine has raised questions about the future of the FARA program, as well as other Army helicopter modernization efforts under the umbrella of the broader Future Vertical Lift Initiative. Russian and Ukrainian helicopters fleets have both suffered significant losses, especially at the hands of shoulder-fired surface-to-air missiles, also known as manpads. At the same time, the Army first announced the FARA program publicly. The service said that the winning design would be required to have a defensive suite to protect it from modern air defense threats and the capabilities necessary to breach through them. So no matter how the FARA program ultimately proceeds, At least Bell is making steady progress towards finishing the Invictus 360 prototype as it looks to the type's possible first flight somewhere around 2023.
Now, I'm going to say something controversial here, and I know Mr. Warner will probably send me a WhatsApp when
Brace
he hears
yourselves.
this later.
Here we go.
But that to me, that Invictus helicopter looks like someone's got an Apache AH-64, got a rather heavy amount of sandpaper with all the rough edges off, and then
I would say that's 400 grit and no mistake.
Yeah. I mean, it looks amazing. It looks absolutely fantastic. It'd be interesting to see how noisy it is, because I know that the 64s are fairly noisy because they come flying over us all the time here. But it looks nice. It looks nice. It's grey. It's military.
Yeah, they're supposed to be quite stealthy, so I suppose grey is the future in terms of stealthiness.
Speak of the Mr. Warner, and he shall appear in the chat room.
I see. Yes, indeed. I've asked him a question via John, actually. So we're waiting for an answer on that.
Oh, Sturman says 180 grit. Sorry.
Oh, 180 grit.
Fair enough. No, good.
We stand corrected. Indeed.
Trust me, Sturman would know the job that he does.
Fair enough. Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. An expert.
Anyway, I suppose we better move on to the next one. We've got loads to pack in still on this show this week. And this next one from Armando comes to us from the drive. This is all about a first laser weapon for a fighter delivered to the Air Force.
This last military story is from thedrive.com also. The U.S. Air Force has received a high-energy laser weapon that can be carried by aircraft in a podded form. This news came today when Lockheed Martin disclosed that at least one of its weapons, which it developed, had been delivered to the U.S. Air Force for test work. This effort falls within the wider framework of still evolving plans to have laser-armed fighter jets that can engage enemy missiles and possibly other targets too. A report today from Breaking Defense confirmed that Lockheed Martin delivered its Lance high-energy laser weapon system to the Air Force in February of this year. In this context, Lance stands for Laser Advancements for Next Generation Compact Environments. Gotta love those acronyms. The recipient for the new weapon is the Air Force Research Lab, or AFRL, which is charged with developing and integrating new technologies into the aerospace and cyberspace realms. Tyler Griffin, who is a Lockheed executive, had previously told reporters that Lance is, quote, the smallest, lightest, high-energy laser of its power class, and that Lockheed Martin had built to date. Now, indeed, Griffin added that Lance is 1/6 the size of previous directed energy weapons and that Lockheed had produced for the Army. That earlier laser was part of a robust electric laser initiative program that had an output in the 60 kilowatt class. Now, we don't yet know what kind of power the Lance can produce, even though there have been some suggestions that it will likely be below 100 kilowatts. As well as being notably small and light, Lance has reduced power requirements compared to other previous weapon systems, which is a key consideration for a fighter-based laser, especially one that can be mounted within the confines of an external pod. If successful in its defensive mission, it is feasible that Lance could go on to inform the development of more offensive-oriented laser weapons, including ones that could engage enemy aircraft and drones at longer ranges, which would be the case when targeting fast-approaching anti-aircraft missile, whether they were launched from the ground or from enemy aircraft. Now, Lance has been developed under a November 2017 contract that was part of the Air Force's wider self-protect high-energy laser demonstrator, or SHIELD, that sounds familiar, program, which is something that we, I think, have talked about previously on the show.
I must say, the pictures that go with this story, with that laser firing from underneath the freaking laser beam. Yeah.
I know. I can say I've got
sharks with laser beams.
I know. I've got Austin Powers in my head when I was just like Dr. Evil in my head.
Sharks with laser beams.
Absolutely, it's a load of laser
There's a show title there
from Target, all stuck together. Apparently, that's what Neil Lamborn is saying. That's the future. There we go. Yes, it's all part of the fun. Yeah, thank you, Armando. A great military segment as always. He's been proper on it this week, hasn't he? Because
he has been a busy boy.
He has.
Considering he's a busy boy, he's been a busy boy.
He has. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And on that bombshell, I'm not going to repeat for fear of getting it wrong what John just said in my ears.
No, blimey, never repeat what John says.
No, good point. Good point. Well made.
This would be an 18.
Come on, we
podcast.
are like 3 minutes away
anyway,
from when we should normally
finish.
This
So this is the next part of the show, and this is the part where you need to listen, guys and girls. It's our first PTUK summer competition.
Whoop, whoop.
Insert applause here. So we have got a competition where you can win.
You didn't ask for that in the notes, by the way. Otherwise, you could have had.
I'm sorry.
You have to ask for these things in advance. Yeah.
So we are running a competition, and we've got two very nice tags to give away on the show for the competition. Now, we're doing a civilian tag and a military tag, and these are tags that come from the skin of the aircraft, of a military aircraft and a commercial airliner as well. And both aircraft have got quite the history. Nev, as you are our BA man, what is the first tag that we're giving away?
Well, this is from a 747-400. Of course, it's a real frequent flyer because over 25 years in its service, this particular aircraft flew 111,086 hours on 13,356 flights, racking up over 55 million miles. The plane first took to the skies in December 1994 and was also delivered to the BA in that month and year in a modified Landor livery with British Asia Airways title and tail. It was sold to a lessor on delivery, leased back to British Airways and subleased to British Asia Airways. It was then returned to BA in October 1999 and was eventually repainted into the British Airways current livery. The aircraft was ferried to St Athan in Wales in September 2020 and permanently retired after a 26-year career. The question is, what was the registration of this aircraft? There is a clue. It sounds as though it really was meant to operate in the civilian environment.
Ooh. Haha. And our military tag, which we've got to give away, which is also good. Great. Matt's got some pictures of this tag actually to show, and some pictures of the aircraft in question. So this military tag is an RAF VC-10. Now this was registration Zulu Delta 241. It was ex Golf Alpha Sierra Golf Mike. It was a K4 version of the VC-10. This first flew in 26th of February 1968. First flew for BOAC. That flew for them for 6 years, from 1968 to 1974. Then it flew for British Airways colours in 1974 through till 1980. Became the first jet to land in the Seychelles, having flown there from London via Nairobi in July 1971. In April 1981, it was given the registration Zulu Delta 241 and flew with the Royal Air Force from 1995 till 2013. Zulu Delta 241 was the longest serving K4 variant of the VC-10, and in 2014 was brought back to life with the Conway engines being reinstalled at Bruntingthorpe, and after 5 years of pleasing the crowds at the Cold War Jet Days, Zulu Delta 241 had its final run in August 2019, and then it was scrapped in 2022. Now, Matt, you have the pictures there of the aircraft, and funnily enough, this aircraft was actually one that me and Nev got the chance to visit and go on board back at the Bruntingthorpe Cold War Jets Day back in, I think it was 2019 we were there when at Nev there.
Yeah,
and you can see Nev there on board the aircraft, and there's the glorious aircraft tail and the aircraft refueling drogue, or basket there, I should say. And the Conways, I remember those engines were not the quietest of engines at all.
Screamers, weren't they? Yes, absolutely.
Now, we have a question for you to answer to win the tag from the aircraft in question. Tags on the screen there for those of you watching on YouTube. You can see the tag there. It's a limited edition. Only 200 of these tags have been cut from the fuselage skin of this aircraft in question. And the question has been set by Armando for this. So we're going to hand it over to Armando to give you the question that we want to hear the answer to for your chance to win this tag.
Hey, everybody out there in PTUK land. Carlos sprung it on me that we were running a competition, and one lucky listener is going to receive a key tag made from a military VC-10. So my question to you all is, not many aircraft designations are assigned to two totally different aircraft. In this particular case, one was built by Martin, the other one was built by Douglas. Not the Martin one, the Douglas one. What was it? What was its unique mission? And particularly to the UK, it was flown by a military unit. Which RAF station did they fly out of? Good luck out there. It's pretty obscure.
Blimey. Even I don't know yet at all. I have no idea. Absolutely no idea whatsoever. So we are looking for the answer to the two questions then. So a quick one from Nev then, just to repeat that question you had for that aircraft, Nev.
Yes, what was the registration, the final registration of the aircraft, the 747-400 that we were talking about?
Yeah, so for your answers, if you could email your answers to us on the show at the, the details will be at the end of the show, but it's podcast@planetalkinguk.com. You can email your answers to there. We're going to let this run for a few weeks, and then we'll probably draw that just towards the end of, what are we in now, July?
End of August, I suppose.
We'll go for some time in August. We'll decide what date in August, but on the Friday we'll do it in August. That's to give you a chance to.
How are they getting the entries in? Where's it coming to? Email.
Yeah, emailing again. As I said, email your answers in to us here to podcast@planetalkinguk.com. That's podcast@planetalkinguk.com. And I will say, make sure you listen to exactly what Armando says in his question for the answers that we need. Make sure you get that in, because he will be ticking the boxes with his pen to make sure you get all the answers correct. And Captain Cruz said that the tag would make go nicely with his mug.
Oh, right. Which mug is that?
I don't know.
Oh, the grey mugs.
Yeah,
okay,
the grey mugs.
God, blimey.
Neil Lamworn doesn't even understand the question.
Fair, yeah. No, I mean, I don't, but I just assumed that was me.
I mean, I've listened back to Armando's question 7 or 8 times now, and I'm
okay. Good.
Lost.
So, hopefully, lots of entries will still be sent in. Good
yes,
news.
hopefully, lots of entries will still be sent in. So we'll get all the answers together. All the correct answers will go into Nev's hat where he is in his studio, and Armando will put the answers for the military quiz question in his hat over in his studio. And as I said, we'll be drawing those in August. So keep your eyes on the screen, and good luck, everyone. They're great tags.
Indeed. It's caption this time now.
Yes, it's caption this time. So every Wednesday we put a picture on social media on our Facebook page for you to send to write your wittiest and most comical captions to on the Facebook page. This week we've had quite the response to the picture that we put up there this week on Facebook. It has to be said. And for the benefit of our listeners on the audio podcast, Nev, what does the picture depict for this week's caption this?
Well, yes, it's a stewardess hanging on for
dear life, I think.
A door which is open, and it looks like the plane is definitely in flight as well. And the first officer is hanging out of his DV window there, probably saying something, I would imagine. But we'll find out, because there's lots of input from the competition.
Indeed.
So here we go. Thanks for the music, Matt. I didn't expect that at all. So the first one that comes to us from Steve, who says, see now, this is why Rick and John Jester, only fly boxes.
Excellent. And Mark says that the new stewardess went a bit overboard during the safety briefing.
See what he did there, yeah.
And Bob says Janice is convinced that this is yet another new employee prank that she's being subjected to, because she knows only too well that the pilot can see where he's going.
Ooh.
Chris says that after you clean the windscreen from the bird strike, check the oil.
Nick says, and I know which Nick this is, I think we all know which Nick this is, says Captain Al's flatulence reaches epic proportions.
Dear. John says Ryanair senior stewardess demonstrates to the new cohort of training cabin crew how to adjust the first officer's wing mirror without the need to use air stairs in line with Ryanair's cost-cutting programme.
I know John likes that one as well. James says engine 2 on, cabin crew prepare for, damn it Joyce, the door is supposed to be secured.
Gary says that Virginia Atlantic's cabin crew in flight training programme takes off and reaches new heights.
And Stuart says, don't forget, they're short on ground staff, so we'll need to wait a little while for the steps to arrive. Very, very, very quite.
Yes. Bill says it is unique in-flight entertainment.
It would be,
definitely that, yeah.
Especially for those who are sitting in seat 1D.
1A? Yeah.
Is it 1D? Yeah, 1D it would be.
1D or 1F if it's on that.
1F, yeah. Bob says...
Have you ever sat there, Nev? Sorry.
I don't even...
1F?
That doesn't even compute, sorry.
Bob says no matter what, Janice always managed to board the aircraft before rotate.
Quite right, absolutely. Yes, well done.
Damien says, does this go to Ibiza?
Andrew says, come on, girl, we're late.
Stuart says, proof that blondes don't always have more fun.
Wow, okay. That's
and
nice.
David says, oh, bugger, this will ruin my hair.
That is true. That will ruin the hair.
That will ruin your hair,
it will
actually.
Ruin the hair. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
What we got in the chat room?
Firm brushing, certainly. Yeah.
Dirk S in the chat room says,
so you really believed it can't be opened in flight? What else have we got? Keep bringing them up, John, and I'll read them out. Richard Adams says, I said doors to manual, not manhandle the doors. Quite like that one. Miles High says, flight attendant going to get more Colombian coffee. Very important, obviously, in flight.
Like that one.
Richard Adams says, Betty in the sky without a suitcase.
Oh, my word.
Love that. Oh dear. Any more for any more? Is that a lot? I think we're up to date there. That's there we are. That is the caption
competition.
competition.
That's the caption this. So thanks to everyone who wrote down some comments this week. Don't forget to check out Facebook, our Facebook page. If you don't already follow us on Facebook, make sure you check us out, Plain Talking UK, and click us on there, follow us, and you'll see on a Wednesday, hopefully, all being well, when I remember, to pop a picture up on there for you to leave your comments on, and you'll be featured on the live show on a Friday night. It's as simple as that. So that is where we are going to bring the show to a close this week. It has definitely been a packed show this week. There's no doubt about that. Nev, social media links, just in case anyone doesn't know where we are in the world of social media.
Absolutely. Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Search social media platform for Plain Talking UK. Our WhatsApp number is +44 757 2249 That's +44 757 2249 Email the show at podcast@plaintalkinguk.com, and the website is www.plaintalkinguk.com. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel as well, and you'll get notifications when we go live, and you can help shape the conversation of the show by joining us in the chat room. Just go to youtube.com and search for Plain Talking UK. You can also, from our website, you can follow us via the Amazon link if you want to do some of your shopping. We get a small referral fee from them. And also, if you want to become a Patreon donor to the show, you can also do that via the website as well.
And that is about all we've got time for. We've run massively over time. It's very unlike us, honestly. So I hope you have a good trip next week, Nev. All the very much best with your travels, and I hope you get your flight back to at least Norwich London International
Yes,
Airport.
I think getting there is the easy bit. Getting home is going to be the challenging part, definitely.
Always
And
a challenge.
fingers crossed, Matt will be back to 99.99% strength next Friday.
I don't think we're here next week.
Oh, aren't we? Are we not here next week?
Is it
What's
not
next week?
I don't know. I get very confused.
Oh, it's the weekend after.
Oh, it's the weekend after. My apologies.
Weekend after, yeah, the week after that we're both disappeared.
Yeah, that's true. Yes, that's true. Yeah, so back next week,
Back
hopefully
next
with
week.
a full crew.
Full crew, yes.
Indeed.
So that's it then. Have a great weekend, everyone. So from me, Carlos here in my home studio, from Matt in the PTUK studios, and from Nev in his master studio over in the sprawling Buckinghamshire mansion. Thanks, everyone. Thanks to John, our producer. Have a great weekend and see you all next Friday. Goodbye, everyone.